Has this ever happened to you? You go to pick up a delivery order that looks like it's going to be great. You're waiting for the order, and then the restaurant hands you an empty cup and tells you to get a Coke Zero. What do? Are you supposed to be filling this drink, or could filling it cost you thousands of dollars? Well, let's find out. Hi, I'm Tyler from the RideShare Guy. Today, we're taking a look at the question of should you or should you not fill a cup at a restaurant. So what happens is you get to the restaurant, you get a delivery, they hand you a cup and they tell you to fill it. Should you fill it? Should you not fill it? What's the final answer? We're going to find out right now. So first, why would a restaurant ask you to fill this cup? Well, number one, they're probably very busy as well. And as much as we rely on tips in order to pay our bills and to make the money we need to make, they also, as restaurant workers, rely on tips. When you're picking up a delivery, they're not going to get. So they're just getting their hourly rate for that. So they're actually not making any extra money for it. So they're not inclined to actually do extra work for that, which I totally understand because I don't get rides and select ones that I know I'm not going to make money on. So it makes sense that they're not going to put that extra foot forward, especially when they're really, really, really busy. Now, some restaurants, it's their policy, whether they're busy or not, to hand it to them. And it may be their thought is, since if a customer came in, they would be able to fill the cup for themselves, that it would be the same as a driver, that we would also be able to fill that cup for them. The reality is that's not really the case, but that's how restaurants may feel. And then finally, one reason is they may not want to fill the cups until the driver actually gets there. And that might be a customer service thing. They may be thinking we don't want the ice to melt or the drink to get warm or whatever the case is while the restaurant is waiting for the driver to get there. So they wait until the driver gets there and hand it to them and have them do it. That way it's at the last possible second and that drink is as fresh as possible. That may be a reason that the restaurant is trying to get the drivers to do the filling of the cups. Regardless of the reason that the restaurant themselves want you to fill the cup, what about the policy of Doordash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, whatever it is? What about them? Well, I reached out to each of them individually or looked up their frequently asked questions, and all of them said the same thing. Drivers do not fill drinks. So it's not within what they expect us to do. They have told us, and one of them that I reached out to even told me that I have the option of canceling the request at that point, or I could call Uber customer support and try to get them to get the restaurant to fill it. And I could go through that whole process. So the policy of the companies that we're driving for is that the drivers do not fill cups. So that's a policy that they've given to us as drivers. What could be even more pressing or even scary at times is state policy. So every restaurant has to go under the state. They have to have licenses. They have to have insurance. They have to have all of these things. And as a W-2 employee, all of those servers or to-go people, they fall under that umbrella of their insurance and their policies and all of that. As a delivery driver, we do not. So we're essentially just a courier. That's why we're not back there preparing the food. We're not back there bagging the food up. Everything is done by them, and we are simply couriers picking the food up and dropping it off. We have nothing to do with food safety or anything like that. That's why we don't have to have a food safety course or have to have certificates in our car while we're driving around. That all falls on the restaurant. Now, if a restaurant doesn't follow state policies, restaurants get fined. The same could be true of us if we refill a drink. And sometimes those fines can be $250 or even thousands of dollars, depending on the state that you live in. Now, most likely, the fine, if there was one whatsoever, which I've looked and I have yet to find a single driver say that they have been fined. Some have said that they could be. Some have even said that they've been threatened, but I've yet to find a single driver that has actually been fined. If you have, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. But these fines typically would go to the restaurant and not the driver. However, that doesn't mean they can't. Just like I worked in the pharmacy for many years, there was a lot of things that if we messed up, we could be fined for, but there was a possibility that if we were the ones messed up, we individually could be fined as well. Typically, it wouldn't happen, but it could happen. Same is true with this. 99% of the time, it's likely going to be, if a fine is given, it's going to be to the restaurant. But that doesn't mean that it won't happen to the driver. So find out what your state policy is and find out what those fines are and see if you want to risk doing it or not. So finally, what should you do as a driver if you're asked to fill a drink? Should you do it? Should you not? Should you insist that they do their job, or however you want to word it? Well, unfortunately, we can't give you the answer of a yes or a no. Policy is absolutely not. But as a gig worker, you again are a independent contractor. So you have to decide yourself whether it's worth the risk of doing so or if it's not worth the risk of doing so. If that $10, $15, $20, $30 order is worth risking a fine, or if you're confident that you're not going to get a fine. If you want to go through the hassle of calling Uber, Doordash, Grubhub and insisting that the company fill the drink, or if you just want to spend the 12 seconds it takes to fill the cup and hand it off and get going to make that money. We can't make that decision for you. As an independent contractor, it's your decision to make. The companies, though it's their policy, cannot enforce it and they can't make you do it. But it is their policy, and if you don't follow their policy, as we know, they can deactivate you. So that's another risk that you have to take into consideration when you're deciding what you want to do. So is it worth it to fill the drinks when you get to restaurants? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's up to you. What do you think? We'd love to hear in the comments below. We know this is going to get a lot of comments. We read every single one of them. Let us know what experiences you've had. If you found this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up. It helps us out. Subscribe to the channel because new episodes come out every single week that help you make as much money as possible. And until next time, stay safe out there, everyone.